Over the last couple days, people have been asking me, Keith, how are you doing? And of course they're referring to how are you doing in terms of handling the whole situation with Roberto Luongo being traded from the Vancouver Canucks to the Florida Panthers. I consider myself to be a Canucks fan. I'm sure there are other Canucks fans that are probably bigger fans than I am. I live here in Ottawa, but I still root for the Canucks. One of my favorite pastimes was watching the Canucks play, especially on a Saturday night. I always said that in life there were things that were certain. Death, taxes, and the Canucks winning at home on a Saturday night. And that seemed to be the case for the last little while, but of course this season's been a little different. Roberto Luongo, who I believe is not only a fantastic goaltender, but a Canadian treasure, has now been taken from the Canucks and he's been taken to Florida. Now, on the one hand, I feel very happy for him, as I know that he's got family there. He used to play in Florida, and if he was going to go to any other NHL team, I'm glad it's Florida because that would be home for him. But on the other hand, I'm very sad in terms of how it happened, in terms of how he was treated by the Canucks. If we rewind back to the Heritage Classic when the Canucks were playing the Ottawa Senators, it seemed like a certainty. It seemed like a given that Roberto Luongo would get the start, but he didn't. Eddie Lack did, his backup. Now, while I've got nothing against Eddie Lack, to me it was a complete slap in the face to a person who's been the absolute backbone of this franchise. Instead of paying him his due and saying, here you are playing on the biggest stage of them all this season, in front of an outdoor crowd, well, technically outdoor, it wasn't a dome, but I digress, in front of an outdoor crowd with a huge audience, let's give our number one goaltender a chance to go out and win this game. No, they went with Eddie Lack. Eddie Lack was gifted a 2-goal lead, but unfortunately the Canucks lost the game. Hear what I just said there. Not Eddie Lack lost the game, but the Canucks lost the game. And the reason that I point that out is because I believe a team wins and loses as a team. The reason that I want that to be crystal clear is because it seems to me that over the last few years, Roberto Luongo has been to blame for everything in this market. They didn't win the Stanley Cup against Boston, it's Luongo's fault. They lost the next season, it's Luongo's fault. You went to the shopping mall, you got a parking ticket, it's Luongo's fault. I believe you win as a team and you lose as a team. If we go back to that Stanley Cup series with Boston where it went 7 games, absolutely they lost the 7th game 4-0. So it's easy to say, well, Luongo let in 4 goals. But I kind of look at it a little differently. Yes, he let in 4 goals, but the people in front of him didn't defend him properly, and the people in front of them didn't score. Again, it's very easy to blame one person for a loss, and it's very frustrating when you're a fan. But you also think to yourself, they had such a phenomenal run, and it's unfortunate they didn't win it, but let's see how they do the following year. The following year they made the playoffs again, but this time the coaching staff decided to go with Corey Schneider. So with Roberto Luongo on the bench for most of the games, it's kind of hard to blame him again. Anyways, I digress. The purpose of this blog is to say that while I'm extremely saddened that Roberto Luongo was left, I wanted to take an opportunity to say thank you. Thank you so much for all the blood, the sweat, and the tears that you poured into the Canucks over the last 8 seasons. You are, and I'll say it again, a Canadian hero. When I think back to 2010 when the Olympics were played in Vancouver, we all cheered in front of our TV sets, or for those of us who were fortunate enough to see the game live, as we won a gold medal on home ice. Fast forward 4 years in Sochi, we're extremely fortunate to win it again. Now in Sochi, Roberto Luongo may not have played as much of a role as he did in 2010, but you mean to tell me that Carey Price wasn't able to benefit from his knowledge? You mean to tell me that he wasn't a fantastic teammate? Roberto Luongo was an absolutely fantastic human being. I say that because can you think of any other person who's had to deal with the amount of scrutiny that he's had to deal with in sports and been able to handle it as well as he has? His Twitter account is probably one of the funniest Twitter accounts that I've come across. I remember looking at this quote. It was in response to Alex Rodriguez, and Alex Rodriguez dealing with his trade issues at the time. And Roberto Luongo's tweet was, "I hope the A-Rod trade thingy doesn't drag out. That would be so annoying." It became a bit of a sideshow wondering what was going to happen with Roberto Luongo and Corey Schneider. And then when Corey Schneider was dealt, it seemed like everything was done. But then Eddie Lack came in, and everything seemed to be going relatively okay between the pipes. But then I think the last straw was the Heritage Classic. Now, if we rewind the clock a couple years ago, we would be talking about the Vancouver Canucks as one of the most elite teams in the league and the best power plays in the league, and they were absolutely phenomenal and on fire. But slowly but surely, piece by piece, the team that was is now the team that was one of the top teams isn't as much anymore. They're not the top power play team anymore. Now they're one of the worst. Is that Luongo's fault? No, but I'm sure somewhere down the line someone will blame him for it. The same people who want to run out and blame Roberto Luongo for the Stanley Cup loss or the other defeats are the same idiots who are probably running out and saying, oh, the Vancouver fans rioted in the city. Let's be clear on something. After that heartbreaking Stanley Cup loss, those weren't Vancouver fans that were rioting. Those were stupid drunk people. And you'd also have to go out and get your brain examined if you think that Roberto Luongo didn't try to do everything he could to win in this city. It's unfortunate that he's gone. I'm very sad that he's gone. And I wish him all the best in Florida. Doesn't mean I won't continue to cheer on the Canucks, but it does mean that I don't agree with this decision. As many of you may know, I'm a huge CFL fan. Last year, the BC Lions let one of my favorite players, G. Simon, go. They felt that he was too old. Kind of probably the same situation that Roberto Luongo's in. You hit that mid-30s plateau and you're considered a senior. G. Simon went off to the Saskatchewan Roughriders, played an intricate part of that team, and won a Grey Cup with them. I was very happy for him. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that Roberto Luongo is going to go and win a Stanley Cup with the Florida Panthers next year, but wouldn't it be great if he did? It's so easy for us to come down on people and to nitpick and to pick on them. But the way that I see it is if you're a fan, and that's a true fan, you don't just cheer for your team when you're winning, you cheer for them through their ups and their downs. To me right now, the Vancouver Canucks are going through a bit of a lull, and I hope they recover soon. But to Roberto Luongo, I dedicate this blog to you, and I say to you from the bottom of my heart, thank you for absolutely everything you've done for this team. Thank you more so for everything that you've done for this country. And while many people might hem and haw in terms of where your legacy stands, to me you will ultimately be remembered as one of the greatest goaltenders in this league and one of the greatest Canadians for everything that you've done. Thank you so much for checking out this blog. As always, you can check me out on CFL_fan on Twitter, Facebook.com/WittyWhittier, and WittyWhittier.com. And one more thing, I'll tell you this, Mr. Luongo. Next year when the Florida Panthers come to Ottawa, I'll be sitting there. I'll be cheering you on. And if I'm lucky enough to meet you, I'm not going to ask you for an autograph because I think that's silly. But I will ask you for a picture, and I'll throw it up on Twitter. #awesome, #Olympic hero. Until then, all the best.